Welcome. This is Artsy Wisdom. My name is Diane. Thanks for coming by. If you are a new subscriber, thank you very much. If you're an old subscriber, thank you for coming back. It means a lot to me. Now, I've noticed I dropped a few subscribers, so I don't know if that has to do with the YouTube algorithm and people are just, over it and they're like moving on. That's fine. But I would like you to check, if you don't mind, just check your subscribe, making sure you're subscribed and you get notifications if that's something you're interested in. I'd appreciate that. Thank you. For those of you who are new, how I work is I do these meditations and I see visions, and visions meaning images of people, places, situations, events, countries, that sort of thing. And I kind of analyze what I'm seeing to try and help communicate that and decipher it. I also am a astrologer and a hypnotherapist and a life coach, and I do tarot card readings, and I have a link on my page for personal readings if you're interested in doing that. I do remote hypnotherapy and past life regression. In fact, I'm thinking my good friend Joanna, she and I are talking about doing a live together. She does hypnotherapy and life coaching and also is an artist. So we have a lot of things in common. And we were going to do some discussions about hypnotherapy and past life regression, and also take questions, and then at the end do a visualization or a meditation for you to join in and around past life, whatever we decide we're going to do. So if you're interested in that, I'll keep you guys updated, and and let me know if that's anything you're interested in the comment box. I appreciate it. So I looked into Jeffrey Epstein's death. I've been really interested to see if he actually took his life or it was something nefarious and dark. I looked into McConnell retirement. I looked into the elections or the Super Tuesday coming up on this coming Tuesday. I looked into Trump's court cases and Jack Smith, Nikki Haley, whether she's going to drop out or not. Some of these things are very interesting. I was surprised at more than one or two. I also looked at the royal situation, King Charles, for a little bit. And I think that's it. I have my notes. That's why I'm looking here. Those of you who have been here before, I do this meditation and then I have to take notes. I don't usually do those live because I kind of have to be in a state of, it's a deeper place than I can. Maybe one day I'll get fast, and I'll be able to do that. But for now, that's how I work. Okay, so let's get going. All right, so let's get started. I immediately went into Jeffrey Epstein. And I'll do these timestamps, so if you want to scroll through, you know what you're looking for. I don't mind doing the timestamps because I know when I go to other videos, sometimes you learn a lot more. But if you sit through everything and maybe there's context, but sometimes it's not. So I'm not mad about it. All right, so Jeffrey, I'm not laughing at him, but. And also, for those of you who haven't been here, I do a lot of dessert analogies or metaphors, however you want to look at it, images. I saw him as a pure white, perfect French patisserie cake. It was a cake, and it had a whipped cream frosting on it, but it wasn't frosting like you think of frosting. It was a cover of white. And for somebody who is so devious and had done so many bad things, it's like it was a very elegant cake. It was very elegant. And then as I got into it, I saw these tiny little decorations that were super small and super high end. I don't know if they're little BBs or little flowers that were sugar flowers, but they were very small and elegant. And this cake, had some decoration, but it was very all white. But when I went into the cake, then I realized it was a white chocolate frosting with a raspberry. It was like a torte. I think it's called a torte, where there's multiple layers, and it's very thin sponge cake or another type of cake, and I can't think of the name of it. It's made with a lot of eggs, but it has raspberry jam. So there's like very many layers inside, like maybe, 6 or 8 layers, and then the white all over it. And that's the cake I used, or that's the cake I saw for him, or the dessert. And then when I got into his body, because I do kind of a remote thing where I get into a person's, I don't just say energy, but also their body. So I can see their hands. I get into this place because I've seen Justice Roberts moving papers around. I can get into their energy and their body. So with Jeffrey Epstein, I saw him tying fabric in knots, like sheets or fabric. And I saw him like making sure it was tied in a knot. So that surprised me because I really was leaning towards it was done by somebody else, but it was too convenient for the guards to fall asleep at that time and the cameras to be off and nobody was around, and all of a sudden he's dead. But I got into his energy. I felt so like powerful and strong and in control. And so I don't know why, but I thought, why would a person kill themselves if they felt that way? But it was his way of, I think, being in control of his situation. He wasn't going to, and I asked him, I wanted to hear exactly what he said. And he said, I'm over it, meaning done. I got the feeling that this life was everything, he had tried to do and he had done it. And he also says, I promised them. So I don't know if he had promised somebody not to take his own life, but to shut up and not say anything. And this was his way of making sure he fulfilled that. But he wasn't scared. I didn't feel like he was scared. I just felt like he was strong and in control, and this is what he's decided to do. And he said, I'm so relieved to be on the other side. Nothing was left to live there because he knew his bank finances will all be emptied because of his situation. So he was taking it in his own hands. There was something about his shoes, though, and I don't know what this is. So I'm looking down at his feet, and I know prisoners sometimes they just wear the slip-on shoes. He wasn't wearing those. He was wearing like brown loafer kind of things, kind of like slippers, but they were brown leather. And so I felt like there's something to do with that. I don't know if he used that to manage his situation somehow or get himself, I'm not sure. And the other thing was, I do feel like his hands were behind his back, so that makes no sense if he's doing it for himself or doing it to himself. There was something with his hands, unless he's doing it to help himself quicken it, maybe. That's the other thing. So, no, I was surprised. Yeah, so he's gone, but he made that choice. Someone asked me, and I'm sorry who this was, somebody asked me about Mexico and the cartels and corruption. I saw them actively recruiting young people. I mean, we all know that, it's corrupt and the cartels run a lot of areas of the economy and cities and towns all over. And I didn't see any end in sight. I saw down the middle of I saw on either side, on the coastal sides of Mexico, I saw that it wasn't as bad. Maybe that's the tourism that is being managed, not by the cartel, but, they need that income. So that's being saved a little bit. It's not being infiltrated as much as I saw that down the middle. They are, basically a swath down the center of Mexico. I did look that into the cartel's abilities, and they actually, I don't know if it's the corruption or the government, there's an income that comes from all the drugs, and it's part of the country's economy. So there's part of it, also the fear of death and all the corruption, but the money that they get does go into the economy. So there's like a mixed bag of what's going to, what the secondary benefit. So for the country, but I did go forward in time. I felt myself going forward in time. And I saw 2028 to 2030, some young man, a lot of times these guys are in their 50s or 60s that want to become president. I see a young man, dark hair, trying to end that, the dominance of the drug cartels in Mexico, try and clean it up. I know that's 4 to 6 years away, but I felt like he was going to try and he was working on it. And I do feel like he's marginally successful, but I don't know how much it lasts. Its time is very nebulous and it changes, and it, like I've said before, it's not a straight line. We jump from spiral to spiral as we're going through. Free will does a lot, and everybody's free will changes the dynamic of time. So, but I thought that was good. I did see that they're still going to find that archaeological discovery. It's sort of on the bottom of Mexico, on the west side, near the bottom. Some big thing. They're going to find that this year or into next year. And then I did see a bunch of wildfires. So sorry about that. I don't know exactly where they are, but I heard wildfires and I saw them. It's not at the top. I felt like it's more down near the bottom, or yeah. Which you think the drier part would be up north, but it was lower. Yeah, there's a silent agreement. That's what I wrote on here. Drug industry is going to continue. It's very lucrative. I did also ask about the fentanyl because that's a huge problem all over the country, how it's being brought in. I saw they are creating, or someone is creating, and they're going to take advantage of this, something very, very, very strong, that's stronger than fentanyl. And it's so micro, like grains, like are super powerful. And for some reason they're going to work on that and make it easier to smuggle and to ship and to hide. I'm sorry, that's really kind of a crummy news, but I do feel like that's happening now. And I don't know what that is exactly. Yeah. I did still see Navalny, in his Superman cape. He was really smiling, and he was still very proud of his country. And at his funeral, I could feel his chest just exploding with joy that everybody came and they all were celebrating him. Not just celebrating him, I don't think it was about that. It was more about them standing up to Putin and standing up and, and protesting and all that. So, and being at the funeral, come what may. I just thought he was very proud of that, and that felt really good. Somebody asked about Florida hurricanes in the Panhandle, which is interesting because normally the hurricanes go, on the peninsula and they go around and go up, or the Keys and go on the Gulf side. But what I did see was them going towards Louisiana or even to the Texas side. Like I saw them going that way. I didn't feel like they went, maybe there would be storms, obviously, in the fall. There's always storms, but I feel like if there are any, it's Louisiana to the Texas corner right there, the Gulf side, if there are any. So that's helpful. And somebody asked me about Smirnoff, that guy who gave the, testimony that he lied to the FBI about Biden's work with Burisma, and that was corrupt. And he was arrested for lying to the FBI. I didn't see him like where he's from and his necessarily deep in his goals, but I did see there's a pool of people like him. There's a big group of people just like him that the GOP or people in the government that want to ruin other people in the government, whoever on either side, whatever that is, there's a big pool of people that are willing to say things. I don't know necessarily if it's about, I did feel like it's more Russian focused, like this group of people was more Eastern European and Russian focused to for them to pick from. It's not like they're from Japan or anything. It's just that group. So there's a lot of sneakiness happening and available for people who want to take advantage of it. Okay, in the past, I looked at the UK as a guy with his suit, and he's changed over these months. In December, he was half dressed and really proud. And then in the last month and a half, he's just gotten really down and dirty and went to France and came back. Now he's back in the UK. Last time I looked at him, he was on a rock and he was sunning himself and drying. He had been to France, and France was helping the UK out with something because they gave them cookies. Like I said, again, desserts. But this time, he has changed his shirt. He has this lovely, crisp, white, very elegant white shirt on, and he's all smiles. He's like grinning like this, like super happy. So whatever happened, I don't know if it's Rishi Sunak and Macron talking. Honestly, I didn't even look into that at all, so I don't know. But I also saw him. So there's something happened that they're happy with some next steps that they're taking, and they feel like it's going to help the country, UK, England. The island at the bottom of England, the south, I guess it's the south, I saw this guy, this anthropomorphic being. He was like taking his hand because along the bottom of the island, because as you remember, I was saying how this dark pool of people are coming underwater from northern Africa or other places that are migrating into England. This UK man, I gotta come up with him and give him a name. Anyway, he took his hand and he's like running it along the bottom of the country to stop that. They're trying to stop that. So that maybe this agreement between England and France, or whatever this decision was, is that it's going to help curb immigration, to help whatever it is they're working on. I didn't see it stopping it too much, though. That's the thing. It did sort of gently, but they kind of went around him a little bit. So I'm not sure what that means. I did look into King Charles again. He's tired. This thing is really wearing on him, the cancer. I think he's being given radiation. That's my theory. He's exhausted. I do feel like whatever this treatment is, it is slowing down or coming to an end soon. But it's going to there's a layover time or a half-life kind of thing where it's going to linger in his body, and it's going to be a lot for him to process. And I did a video on this before about my cancer and talking about how you process it physically, emotionally, in life. And I knew it would creep up on him. That's what happens when you get it. It kind of creeps up on you, the mortality part and your physical part and the stress, and you think you can handle it, but eventually it kind of continues. William, I also looked into William because I saw him as, it's like he's coming of age. He knows he's going to be the next king, but this situation really accelerated his timeline in his mind, and it almost said, okay, I got to be ready. I got to do this. I feel like he is really speeding up in regards to becoming more like the monarch he's going to be. Catherine is very tired. I think she's depressed somewhat. I think she's having to change how she lives, eats, moves. Something is, and I've told you the people before, or my views before, something in her tissues, in her colon, something, there was adhesions or something they had to remove, and a lot of things were incorporated. And so there was a lot of recovery for a lot of areas, and they don't want her to disturb that or remove that. And I'm not sure what all that means, but she's getting better, because I got scared. I was looking at all the crazy online, and I thought, oh no, maybe she is getting really sick, but I don't feel that way. I feel like she's down and it's hard. Okay. I looked into McConnell, Mitch McConnell, and his retirement or stepping down from Senate. I saw him as a big plate of syrup, and there's some bits of French toast that were there, but this syrup is kind of pouring over the edge. It's very messy, and you know how your hands get sticky when you touch syrup. There was also like M&Ms on there, but they were floating around. But there's like a couple bites of French toast, but it's really meal's over. So, but it was pouring over the edge, and it just felt, well, sticky, and time to clean it off and put it in the dishwasher. Clean it. But I don't know if it's the French toast or the syrup and his kind of, you know, how he is a little droopy, kind of turtley looking. So maybe that has something to do with it. But there was a time when the French toast was good, but now it's not. Yeah. So I did see him moving on. I did ask about the GOP, how he will help. Will he stay on try to help the GOP get out of this dilemma with Trump and either keep him as a nominee or, I don't know, work behind the scenes to do something to strengthen the GOP. I did see that he actually will do things that will strengthen the GOP, and they'll kind of be secret, and nobody, because he's leaving, he doesn't have to worry as much about hurting and people blaming him and not getting elected. So I think he's actually gonna, not saying he's gonna go on the side of the left or anything, but I do think he's gonna do more conservative things and less MAGA things, if that makes sense. He's gonna go back to the old traditional Republican, somewhat, not all the way, because he has to play the game. But I did see that he's gonna work behind the scenes a little bit before he leaves. He will get blowback to some degree, but I looked into Super Tuesday. In the past, I saw Donald's as a cake that it fell off the top of the fridge or the counter, and it was on the floor and it was smashed. And it was like a chocolate ganache, a shiny chocolate ganache, when it had some gold flakes, and it was an orange flavor cake, and it was in chunks because it had been smashed on the ground. It was still kind of together, but kind of spread out like this. Well, I looked into his energy for Super Tuesday, and I saw that kind of like secret service agents or men were kind of propping up the back of the cake, where the front of it was still mushed, but the back, they were really working hard, and they actually got the back of it to sort of stand up like it did before it fell, which I thought was interesting, but the front was still mushed and it hadn't changed at all. Then I see Nikki Haley as the licorice whip that she is, and I don't think she's going to get very many delegates, if any. She'll get like 20 or 30% of the vote in these states. It's big too. It's California and Texas and all these big states that are going to be having their primaries. He's going to get most of them, most of the electors or the delegates for the nomination. So I do think if she's probably going to quit after Super Tuesday, because I don't see her seeing any way to help herself. It serves no purpose, because I think her name is out. I don't think it's going to make a difference in the long run. Her name already has a strong recognition factor. But which was interesting is what I saw her. Normally she's like fighting with him, and she can't do anything because he's a giant cake and she's just licorice whip. But and for him, I saw his the bottom on the floor kind of dissolving. You know, like if it was wet, the cake is kind of dissolving in the front, not in the back because they're propping it up, but in the front, it was dissolving. Anyway, but I see her, and you guys tell me what you think this is, because I could not figure it out. I see her go under him, like half in, like you would a plate underneath, but she's just a piece of licorice. So she went in there underneath him, and I couldn't figure out if it was because she wanted to be his running mate. I don't think so, because she's criticized him too much, or if she wanted a part in his cabinet in the future, or a job, or it signifies her attaching herself to him somehow, or being part of his campaign. But she's buried in there. Like, it's different. I didn't see, or maybe she's like hiding, going, I'm sorry. Maybe that's, I don't know. But it didn't make any sense, because up until now she's been, she didn't start off too Trump critical, but now she's been that way in the chaos and she's actually said things. But now she's burying herself. So I don't know, or maybe she's hiding and she doesn't want to be seen after this. Not hiding, but laying low. You know what I mean? I don't know. So tell me what you think, because I don't know what that means exactly. But I do think she's going to not be part of the election after this. And I did see that something surprising is going to happen with this primary. Something surprising. I felt like there's going to be something, I don't know if it's going to be the delegates that are going to be assigned to her are more than they think, or one part of the country or a county that flipped, or not flipped, but changed something. But I think some people are going to be surprised, and it's actually a good thing. Whatever this is, it felt good. So his trial in March, I guess he's got the criminal trial for the hush money in New York. And that is actually starting. He didn't get the delay for that. And he has to be in the courtroom for that. And I do think because of the Super Tuesday, he's going to get a bump from that. I looked into his energy up until like the 22nd or the 25th, something in there. After that, it doesn't feel as good as like before. I've said in the past, March and April won't be good for him. So I think the beginning of March looks like he'll feel okay. He'll feel good because of the election or the primaries. After the 22nd or the 25th, I feel like he's going to be in court, and it's going to be difficult. And I don't think this case is going to change a lot of voters, but there's something about it that is going to really be a negative thing in his life. I know that's super vague. But I also saw, I don't know why, March 31st came in my mind as being a very important day, something important. And it feels good on March 31st. And I was thinking about Gaza and Israel at the time. So kind of back and forth, but I'm just remembering that. So I think it feels good, and I don't know if that's a ceasefire or not. Let me go back to Trump before I get back on there. So as for the Scotus hearing the immunity appeal in April, I saw them as like multiple candlesticks, not quite a menorah, but a candelabra with all of these, but they were all in a row. And I saw them all on fire or lit. So the judges or justices are working, and they're aflame and lit up. And this is all working. And they're all pretty much the same size. I would think that some of them would be bigger, like Thomas, I think, has a big head and stuff. But I don't think they're gonna approve his appeal. They're gonna take their time. They're gonna slow roll it, but they're gonna what's the terminology? Give an opinion that he doesn't have immunity. But that won't be till April or May, something like that, or June even. So it's going to slow the roll. So I asked about Jack Smith, and I saw that he's going to put in so many motions to the federal charges in Georgia and in Washington, D.C. And in the past, I've seen him as an apple pie, as Granny Smith apple pie. But in this case, he's frozen. I don't know why, but he's frozen, and he's like a wheel. And he is, and remember, Trump's cake is on the ground, and he is, Jack Smith's frozen apple pie is rolling towards Trump, but those men around Trump, Secret Service guys or helpers or whoever, is stopping him from happening. So Jack Smith can only get some of those edges that are kind of dissolving, and he's only able to get those for right now. I don't see any big changes there. But as we know, he's going to keep filing motions. Jack Smith is going to keep filing motions and doing as much as he can to keep Trump off the ballot and get him, well, I shouldn't say that. I think he wants to keep him off the ballot, but he wants to prosecute him. That's what his goal is. The weather, somebody asked me about weather, tornadoes. No, nobody asked me about weather and tornadoes. I just saw weather. I saw tornadoes in southern Missouri and Arkansas through there, some really big ones. And that's not much of a surprise because that's like Tornado Alley. I saw that they're going to come for the government shutdown. I saw that they're going to come up with another stopgap. A little bit more, it'll be more in depth, and maybe it'll go to the end of the year. It will have Ukraine funding in it. I felt like that was going to be in there, and they were going to be able to come to some sort of agreement to cover the government's bills and the Ukraine funding. I looked into Mike Johnson because he's, the Speaker of the House, and I saw him as a cupcake. In the past, I've seen him as the great and powerful Oz behind the curtain, pulling all the switches and knobs and not wanting to be seen, and then flying in the balloon instead of Dorothy and saying, bye, everybody. He wants to get out of it. I think he's over his head a little bit, or a lot. But I saw him as a cupcake that, the grocery store cupcakes that are made out of partially hydrogenated oils and different chemical stuff. He's a cupcake. He looks pretty. It's got a white cake with filling, some sort of frosting, pink or white, and it's got it's a lot of frosting, but there's no substance to this cake. It is very sweet, and it tastes like chemicals, and that's what he's like. So, and there's no strength there. The substance of his cupcake does not give him any power. So even though he is in a powerful position, the inner or the essence of him is soft and mushy and not quality. So it doesn't have strong surface area. That's what I wrote, and it's fluff. So, and the ceasefire. I told you. I think somewhere the end of the month, maybe. And the 31st is going to feel really good for some reason. I don't know if it has to do with ceasefire, but that number came up when I was thinking about that. And that was it for So I wanted to say that I'm going to try and do 2 videos a week. I've been doing my little daily messages, spiritual messages to you guys. And I do get positive feedback on that, but I feel like I'm running out of time in my life, so I'm going to focus more on my bigger, longer videos. Do a week, maybe Tuesday, Friday, something like that. I haven't quite nailed that down, but as I said, I'm learning. And thank you all again for your comments and feedback. I always read them all. I may not say anything, but I read them all. All right. So again, I'm ending on positive things. So here we are. Here's a couple positive things. So it looks like Finland is really working hard, and they've gotten homelessness nearly eliminated from the 20,000 in Helsinki in the 1980s to now it's down to 3,600 and dropped by 40% between 2019 and 2022. I think they're investing in low-income housing and it's like a simple approach, I guess. But that's awesome because homelessness is skyrocketing all over the world. Christian Bale, if anybody thought he was kind of a jerk, I'm thinking maybe not. I think think I'm moving my microphone over here so you guys can hear me. When his daughter was born, he wanted to help. And for the last 16 years, he's tried to get the foster care system better in California. And with Together California, they acquired a 4.67 acre site adjacent to McAdam Park in Palmdale, a city north of LA. And it has 160,000 inhabitants in 2022. So what they said they're going to have is 12 3-bedroom townhomes. So each will house 6 children and a full-time professional trained foster parent. And then studio apartments will also be available to provide temporary housing for visiting relatives or transitional housing for kids aging out of the system. And a lot of times kids that turn 18, they have nowhere else to go, and they don't have the skills or the background because they come from a really difficult background, and they really need a lot of help to become integrated into regular society. And and then there's a 7,000 square foot community center. We'll be offering enrichment programs and services. So, Christian Bale, I'm sorry, I misjudged you. Please like, share, subscribe. And if you have any questions, love to hear them. Thanks.